So once you download your CentOS image from whatever the link I mentioned and the VM player for your operating system. Here, host operating system is the one which is primarily running on your box. I mean laptop. Example, Windows 7 or alright. Next,
Yeah.
run VM player and through the VM player we can play the VM image of the required OS. Example, CentOS or Ubuntu. This is called my guest OS. Inside the guest OS, we have a environment. Inside the host OS, we have the environment. Connectivity between your guest and the host. What all the drives that you have attached to your host, same can be accessible through your guest. The internet that is accessible through your host is also accessible through your guest. All this seamless thing will happen between your host operating system and the guest operating system. Okay, this is one way, and the other way is anyhow we need what we need, your Hadoop environment. The best way is download VM image for CDH, that is called Cloudera distribution for Hadoop. You will be downloading the image. So what this image will have OS and Hadoop with the components set up and ready to be used. That is what is the OS that is there. The OS that is there is CentOS and the Hadoop. Hadoop, I mean your core, especially that is yarn with the components set up and ready to be used means your pig, hive, scoop, Uzi, zookeeper, all these are considered to be the component. Now you decide it what needs to be done. See, if at all if you are interested to download this VM image for CDH, then for that sake what needs to be done is go to cloudera.com. Cloudera.com. In that you need to go to downloads and you have something called quick start VMs. In quick start VMs, we have a quick start for CDH 5.8, that is VMware, and say get it now. They may ask to give certain details, no problem. You can give those details. Once details are been given, you'll be able to download this image. This is going to be a compressed file whose size is around, this is a compressed file of around 5 GB, which needs to be and through the player you'll be able to play that. So either you go this way. Here if you go this way, you only will get your CentOS operating system. That's it. And in that you install Java or whatever you want. You install that and work with it. Java, or you install Hadoop, you install whatever you want. You can play with it. Make sense,
Okay.
friends?
Yes, yes, it does.
And the second one is you download the respective bundle and you extract that and you run it using the same player again. But the advantage with this is we also get CentOS and we get Hadoop, that is Yarn, with the components like Pig, Hive, Scoop, Uzi, all Flume, Zookeeper, and libraries like Avro and UI like your Hue and all these things are built in as part of your image and which can be readily used by us. Right? So in either way, we can do this one. The diagram what I've shown you in the last discussion, because our goal is now administration, so we are not worried. Our goal is administration, not the development. That is why certain things we don't care or we are not much worried. Look at this diagram once again. There is a reason, great reason why I'm asking you to look at this diagram. What is the dependency here? Yeah, I think Arun, Sunil,
You mean dependency in terms of like you need to have the HDFS data storage layer? Is that what you're saying?
yes, that is one thing. And the second thing is the processing framework is MapReduce only here. So you write a pig script, you write a Hive query, you run a scoop command, all turn down towards MapReduce jobs only, right? This is what my version, Hadoop version 1.0. Now this made the cluster to be biased towards MapReduce only. We will not be able to run any other distributed computing, any other distributed computing frameworks on the cluster to make the resources to be accessible so that data can be processed. See, anyhow, HDFS is needed. HDFS is definitely needed. That is for storage. But if processing is confined only to MapReduce, then I'll be able to run only MapReduce jobs on it where I'm becoming more biased. Because every problem cannot be solved or implemented using MapReduce style or algorithm. There are problems which demands a different technique to process the data and emit the results. That was not possible with my Hadoop 1.0. That is the reason why we have Hadoop 2.0, that is called YARN, yet another resource negotiator, with which we can make your existing environment or setup only a part but not complete, so that non-map reduced programs also can run on the same cluster. That is the reason why this is called yet another resource negotiator. Let me open that one if possible. Because whatever the cluster that you are going to set up now, it is your yarn based cluster only, no more MapReduce based cluster. That is the reason why I want you to get this difference, so that you understand what is the advantage of. Anyhow, we are not going to set up Hadoop 1.0. We will be setting up Hadoop 2.0 only. I am saying very clearly here, friends, Hadoop, not your Cloudera, Hortonworks, all these things. They come into picture at the later stage. This is Hadoop 1.0 and Hadoop 2.0. Have a close look at this diagram, friends. So why we need to understand this one? Without understanding this also we can set up as an admin. We don't need all these details. I can straight away say it is a yarn based cluster. You set up like this and you work with it. But to have the understanding why we are basically moving, I'm just trying to make you to understand, giving you this pictorial representation. Have a look at this diagram and also compare with this diagram. Look at these two diagrams, friends. So in the interview, you may encounter what difference you find between Hadoop 1.0 and 2.0. This is the evidence. Yeah, friends, you got any understanding on this? I mean, Arun, I think you'll be able to definitely understand. Sunil, you can understand, but I'm looking from the others whether you are able to understand this. If not, let me know. I'll explain you. Ni, Anne,
Well, I mean, the difference that I see, I mean, I just see the orange colored diagram on there has a lot more services on there, the data access and management layers. That's what I see that's different from the other diagram you have on your left.
no, Ni, I don't know.
Yeah.
Your voice is too low to understand. Somehow, is it the same thing to you, Sunil, Arun?
No,
Yeah, I
Srinivas.
can hear him. I can hear him.
Yeah, we can.
No, are you able to hear Ni clearly or no?
Yes.
Okay, but somehow, let me increase my speaker volume then. Let me check with that. Yeah, Ni, go ahead.
Okay, so I was saying, just looking at the two diagrams, the difference that I can see, if I look at the diagram on the right, it has the more components or more services. You have the management layer and then the data access components. The diagram on the left, the difference on there is the, I think, yarn, which is the resource management component. So that's the difference that I see between both sets of diagrams.
No, 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 no. See,
No, okay.
see this one. Here also we have data storage in both 1.0 and 2.0. At the lowest level, we have data storage only.
Yes.
But when it comes to your processing layer, in 1.0, we have the processing layer fixed with MapReduce. But
Yes, and the other, yeah, the other.
in 2.0, I moved just this processing layer one step up. I introduced one more layer in between called resource management layer for the cluster. As a result, what happens? MapReduce is one framework with which we can process the data. You want, you can also process the data using other distributed computing frameworks like MPI, that is called message passing interface, which is like your MapReduce only. This is another distributed computing framework. To solve certain problems, I may be processing my data using MPI. I may be processing data sets using my MapReduce. I may be processing my data sets using some other distributed computing framework which is more efficient. I can even have Spark. I can even have Spark. There is a computing library, a computing framework with which you are able to process the data using in memory. So, because of this yarn, I can plug various distributed computing frameworks. I need not stick only to MapReduce. On the top of MapReduce, the remaining story runs. This all runs. Data access, data management, that all is as is. There is no change in that. But earlier in 1.0, we have only that option. But now the options been increased to me. How? You can see that here. Earlier, I have something called job tracker where I submit the job to that. With the help of the task trackers, I used to run my job parallelly on different nodes so that the processing ability is more efficient. But with the resource manager introduction, client sends the request to the resource manager. Resource manager is going to initiate an app master that is called per application master. So, how many resources are needed to run this job? Those many resources are given to you in the form of containers. A container is just nothing but a CPU, memory, and IO. I mean, how much processing power is needed, how much IO is expected to be performed, and how much CPU is needed. I mean, memory, CPU, and IO. Network that includes local IO, disk IO, network IO, everything. So, when you submit the job to your resource manager, it will initiate app master because to run that application we require a master, that is app master. And with the resource manager negotiating with the node manager, I can get or to run the data present on this node, I may require these many resources. Those resources are being reserved and being used exclusively to process the data, then it is being released. So, as a part of that, we are now trying to learn and understand here how we make your other distributed computing frameworks to participate as part of the Hadoop cluster and make your data get processed. So, this one and that one, if you observe closely, you yourself will realize. See this diagram, you will be much more clear. Your dependency on MapReduce now can be well addressed with your yarn. So, as an admin, why we are going with yarn and why not with your Hadoop 1.0? Why we are going with Hadoop 2.0? We should understand that. Look at this diagram closely, friends.
Srini?
Yeah.
So the resource manager is still a single point of failure, right?
For the sake of jobs,
Yeah.
yes.
So the resource manager is actually installed on the name node.
No. On a separate, machine. I mean,
So you have
in the true production environment, we set up a resource manager on a separate machine with high configuration.
and then you also set up the name node, right?
A name node will be there anyhow, definitely.
Yeah. So in the previous MapReduce 1.0, we just had name node and data nodes and probably a secondary name node. In this, we need one more server just to run the resource manager, correct?
Now there also we need right job. We need to run job tracker there.
But the job tracker can be run on the name node itself, right?
No. There also,
Uh,
see, we are making both to run on the same because of the node constraint or resource constraint or maybe the limitation of the number of instances, better instances. But in both the models, these masters are expected to be executed or set up on independent machines only, anywhere.
Oh, okay. So you need a separate machine for job in the older version 1.0, you need a separate machine for job tracker, then you have the name node, then you have the secondary, then you have the data nodes. In
Exactly.
this case, instead of that job tracker machine, you're going to be installing Yarn on it.
Yeah. So that is where I'm trying to make you to understand both these diagrams so that we get the understanding. Here, we are biased that only way to process the data is using your MapReduce one. Whereas when you come to this new one, your old one just becomes one part. So I can say the old one is a subset of the new one. Look at this diagram. When you have MapReduce plugged into Yarn, on the top of MapReduce, the other things will be as is. Arun,
Yeah, got it.
So, Srinivas, so when we install Yarn, do we need a job tracker node or no?
that's a classical question.
There
See,
is no job tracker in Yarn, right?
your existing
Because it's
1.0
a
will continue as is even if you go to 2.0. But in the place of only MapReduce to be the source for processing your data can now be relaxed. I can have other computing frameworks also to be set up on the same cluster.
So, if I understand correctly, in Hadoop 1.0, we have 5 daemons, right? So, in Hadoop 2.0 also we'll have all the 5 daemons along with the resource manager. Is
Exactly.
that correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
So anyhow, as an admin, Hadoop admin, we are going to start learning with Hadoop 2.0 only, and we'll be resource manager is there, and you submit the job to the cluster. Resource manager comes into picture. What resource manager will do is we may not be running MPI jobs on this cluster immediately, but provision is there to run MPI jobs on the same cluster. So I need not set up multiple storages for my data. One storage is to process the using MapReduce, and the other process to process the data using um, different. That that question will not arise anymore. See, even without telling this one, we'll be able to go to the bundle and start working with it. But the reason I introduced Yarn, yet another resource negotiator. It is only a resource negotiator, not everything. It is only a resource negotiator. Yeah. Now, once this is been set up, what is being shown by me here, then we can start adding the services to that. That is what I've shown you, right? You remember that as part of the Hadoop cluster, what is that we have? Add service. Isn't it or not, friends? You recollect that I've shown you add service as part of the cluster. You can keep on adding what are the services needed, and time to time we'll have updates on the services. We have upgrades on those services, and those things will be taken care. Brief look at this one. That is why I say either admin or developer, we need to have a bit of vision on the other end also. If you are a developer, you need to be 20% admin. If you are an admin, you need to be 20% developer, without which no role is complete, basically, because we don't have clear demarcation as of now. Still, the technology is getting more matured. We don't have clear demarcation. And this is how I run my MPI run. How I run my Hadoop jobs? How I run my Hadoop jobs? As I said, we'll be running Hadoop jobs with the command Hadoop jar and mrjobs.jar my job, and what is the path? tmp/sandbox. This is a path on HDFS. Sandbox slash my file dot txt slash tmp slash sandbox my file underscore. Of course, this will not run because the paths and all will not exist. Of course, it is reading, but the thing is uh, that one. Forget about its failure. That's not. This is how you run your MapReduce job. You want to run your MPI jobs, we have that MPI run, and you specify how many nodes needs to participate in your parallel processing, and if any arguments need to be passed, those things. That is how we do. So, what the reason, the intention of discussing this one, your cluster is leveraged. Otherwise, what happens? What is the problem? And why the administrator is more being benefited with this one? For the reason I have same storage. What is that storage? On the top, we can have the respective layer to process the data. If it is Hadoop 1.0, the only alternative to process data is using MapReduce only. Whereas with Hadoop 2.0, the advantage is your MapReduce is one choice. Is one choice. So that the data that is stored on your Hadoop, on your HDFS, can be processed using your other techniques also. So I need not go and set up multiple clusters. One cluster to process your data using MapReduce kind of technique, other cluster to process the data using message passing interface kind of technique, because ultimately it is the same data on which you want to run your programs to process and eliminate the complexities or address your needs. I think this is definitely clear. Why we are going with Yan? Why we are going with Yan, friends?
You can use any processing engine.
Yeah, in order to effectively utilize the resources. See, anyhow, storage is the same. Why we need to have different clusters to process the data? Because you're using different frameworks. Let let me have everything on the same. Depending on the need to the team, I take care of setting up that specific software library and give the access to that. Yeah. So this is also been done.
So Srini, I don't think in the live environment anybody uses Hadoop 1.0, right?
Yeah, yeah, that
It's
is
all
how.
yarn based.
Oh, that game is over, Arun. That game is
Okay.
completely over. That is the reason why. See, I can directly tell you, yarn infrastructure, resource manager, and all these things. But you never know why basically you are coming for this. This is definite. An interior is maybe very keen to know why we shifted our focus from 1.0 to 2.0. What made you to go with that? What advantage you got it? The advantage is I can have the same storage but different computing frameworks to process depending on my need. That is what the advantage. Yeah. Anyone facing challenges, difficulty? Okay, that's right. You have clarity on this one? I can move on to my next discussion. So, what is the architecture that I'll be using now? Yarn based architecture, not your MapReduce based architecture. I mean, job tracker and all will not come into picture anymore. We only deal with resource manager, application master, and the reason to introduce these terms, for everything we have the configuration available and you need to go through that. So one other thing that is required to a developer, sorry, to an admin, basic understanding of XML. All these are the things we are, see, you want to make a good dish. You need to identify all the ingredients and make them available handy to you. Then only you can make a good dish. That is what we are doing, nothing more. Basics of XML. Why all the configuration files are the same in Hadoop with allowed tags. I'll show you an example, don't worry.
Srinivas, one question.
Yeah,
So
please.
is this architecture available on Cloudera version, whatever we installed, or it is going to be a different one?
Which architecture? Yarn architecture, Sunil?
Yeah, Yarn architecture.
Yes, yeah, well,
Yes, yes.
pretty available. That is why we never come to know that there is something called 1.0 in the beginning. We never know also that one because we start with Yarn only. But
Oh, okay. So
in
whatever we have installed right now is Yarn.
yes, absolutely. Because you want, you can go there and see, go to the Cloudera manager and see that your cluster is now configured with your resource manager, application master, node manager, all these things. Not your earlier.
Okay, let me check that. Okay.
Go and check it out once. What? Maybe not there. One second. not this one. Give me a minute, friends. The only problem is if I start, that is where uh, I'm trying to configure a different machine to show you the things. Um, of course, when it comes to Mac, in the place of your VM player, that is workstation player, we have something called Fusion, which is configured by me here. Fusion. I have a Sandbox. You see that one here, HDP. This is IBM Big Insights, Cloudera, and a quick start, very compact. This thing. There's a quick start VM, just been used for the sake of a quick training purposes and all. Observe, notice what is happening. Notice what is happening, friends. I'm going to ask you, probably once everything is done, I'm going to ask you where it started, what went, and where we, yeah.
voice check. Srinivas, are you still on? Can't hear anyone, so I'm not quite sure if I lost everyone. Srinivas, you still there? Can anyone else hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you now.
Are
Okay,
you able to
perfect.
hear me?
Yeah, Srinivas.
Yeah, you have your. That is where we waited, to make this up and running. You see here, this is what user Hadoop. Yes, now we have here. See what is my current directory? I think you are able to see here. Core-site.xml. What we are setting up here, we are setting up what is a default FS default name. FS in the sense file system default name. What is Hadoop temporary directory? Uzi host, proxy, user Uzi host, Uzi groups. What is a MapReduce job tracker? On which port it is running? My job tracker plugins, my thrift address. See, this file and the previous file, the architecture or the structure is the same. There also, the root element is configuration, and inside configuration we have property. Every property has got name value. What is mean? Make sense? So as an admin, you are supposed to configure these files. Of course, as an admin, you are going to use a UI to add properties and update properties and all those things. But what is actually happening is those are getting changed in these kind of configuration files. Of course, if you go to your hue, and there if you make changes or if you go to your Cloudera manager and there you go to any service and there you make the configuration changes, those will happen, those will happen, or those changes will get committed to these files only. That is why I am opening those files and showing it to you. And for this sake, you need not be a great XML skill set. You don't need a big XML skill set, basic XML knowledge, because all these are XML files. I think you noticed them here. All these are XML files. Mapred-site.xml, core-site.xml, hdfs-site.xml, Hadoop policy XML. All these are XML files. So that is why I want even capacity scheduler we have the XML. MapRed queue, that also we have an XML. So I want you to understand what the structure of these XML files, and at times when you need to create properties, each property has got name value pair, both are string type, and how you can add properties to this one. Of course, we will not be doing it manually because these are error prone. A small mistake at one corner of your XML file, tracing that and fixing that is going to be a very painful and a challenging thing. Not to happen, we will not be doing that. But we will be, look at this one. Is that clear, friends? Make sense? This is my Hadoop. You may ask me one thing, Srinivas, this is the case of Hadoop. What about the other components? Take any component, you'll have the same directory structure. Inside Hadoop we have conf, inside pig we have conf now. And you see, you'll be having configuration files here. Even you go to your Hive, there also you see there is something called conf. You have hive-site.xml. What is that? What is the, look at this one. What is the connection URL? What is the driver name? What is the username? What is the password? What is the metastore warehouse directory? All these are present inside your hive-site.xml file. Let it be any XML file. The structure is the same because root element is configuration. Inside that we have property, and each property we have a name value pair. I hope things are pretty clear at this stage. Make sense?
So Srini, can you just show me the root directory where this configuration files are? Just the thing.
Not root.
Just do a PWD. That's enough.
No, not root.
Just do a PWD.
Usually, I mean, in this version, they are actually present inside your. You can see that here. User lib. In that,
Okay, got it. Okay.
for every component we have a. Maybe in your thing, in your case, you may find it in a different location, but for sure, every component that is been set up, you can go to your environment, Arun. You can see there, either in the user lib or somewhere, OPT, in OPT. You'll be finding for every component there is a directory. In the directory, you have the configuration directory. In the configuration directory, we have the configuration files.
Okay. But you can actually do the settings from the GUI, right? No need to actually edit this file.
Yeah, that is where I mentioned. But even if you make changes from the GUI, but the files are going to be affected. Whatever I'm showing you now, those are going to be affected. Why we do that is to reduce errors. Maybe I open this file, say for example, HDFS, sorry, hive-site.xml. If I open using my VI, okay, I keep going down and make changes here, accidentally or intentionally. Say for example, I missed only this one. What I missed? Only this I missed. The improper closing. Then it will have a very severe impact on the services. To be less prone, less error prone, what we are doing is we are doing it using GUI. But the root level files are these files only. So that is why I'm showing you these things. Whether you directly work with them or you work at the configuration level, from there the values gets reflected here. That's a different thing. But these are the configuration files on which you are going to work actually. Make sense?
Yeah, got it.
No, these are all we are collecting. All these details, how things need to be. Then slowly what we do is we go into the details and start understanding how you add services, how you do upgrades, how you do, certain times you also need to do downgrades, not only upgrades every time to make certain features accessible or enabled. We will do those things, how we do all those things, and how you do the scaling, and how you make your cluster to be set up with the required services and perform based on your requirement. So for that sake, all these basics are essential. Please go through this one so that we can have, once we go to that, the UI level, we will not be facing any challenge. That time we will not have the question. Or the same XML file, what we are seeing here physically, I am accessing it through my GUI, nothing more than that. Where I am giving the value here. 1 second. Hmm. Yeah, friends. So I advise you to go through this one and read this. So you don't need any separate document to get something on your yarn also. You have your hadoop.apache.org. From the same, you'll be able to get even the yarn architecture and the other stuff. You can see that here. Hadoop yarn, a framework for job scheduling and cluster resource management. Hadoop MapReduce. Again, it is yarn-based system for parallel processing of large data sets. In the place of Hadoop MapReduce, I get MPI, that is yarn-based system for parallel processing of large data sets for a different reason. So you go over here, learn about. Here you see something called yarn. Of course, here you can see even MapReduce also, but you can see yarn over here. So I advise you to go through this one, the architecture of that, and uh, what is the capacity scheduler and fair scheduler. These two things I advise you to go through, friends, and also look into the configuration files. Probably in the coming session, we will be setting up at least a pseudo cluster. I think I've already mentioned it, right? If I'm not wrong, go to the place what I have shown you in the today's discussion. Download that VM bundle for Cloudera, that is CDH. Cloudera distribution for Hadoop. You download that bundle and you also download your workstation player and make that available so that we set up the local environment that is required for you so that you can start working with it. Make sense, friends?
Yes.
Yes, Ashwini.
So, I mean, Arun, Sunil, you already set up, that's fine. The others, please do that one so that in the coming session we will be doing it. Okay. So great, friends. If you have any question for today, please let me know. Otherwise, we end up at this level. When we catch up in the next discussion, we
I
try.
have a question, Srinivas.
Yeah, please, please, please.
So when I am configured my Cloudera manager, my Hue browser stopped working. So do you know any reason why it stopped working?
It stopped working.
When
So
when I click on view, it is not going to the login prompt. It says some port error or something, and it stopped. So after researching, they asked me to restart the Hue browser manually. So I did that, and after that it is working. But only problem is whenever I shut down my
ah,
VMware.
yeah, got it, got it. So, are you able to access your Cloudera Manager, Sunil?
Yeah, I'm able to access.
So you go to the Cloudera Manager and see the Hue browser there. I mean Hue service, Hue service,
Mm-hmm.
not browser, Hue
Yeah.
service. And we will try to fix using the configurations there. Maybe till then you
Oh, okay.
manually start here. We will fix the configuration changes at that level.
Okay. Okay. That's what I mean. Every time whenever I log in, it is failing.
Yeah,
So
I
I
got.
have to start the service manually, and then we are going to Cloud Era Manager. Both are working.
Yeah, yeah, got it, got it. So we can fix those configuration changes at the Cloudera Manager level for that Hue service.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Hmm.
So great, friends. Enjoy your weekend, and
Yeah.
we'll see you again on the next session. Please make sure that you go through these things. Great time ahead, friends.
Okay. Thank you.